Okay, so we are now in chapter 2 of our course in um, financial management course for cooperatives. And uh, in this chapter, we will try to understand the financial statements. So we need to see what are the components of the financial statements, and we will have a grasp of how and what each of these components of the financial statements will present to the stakeholders. Okay, so let us move. Okay, so in understanding the financial statements, we first need to see what are the components of the financial statements. I would like to jump directly to the statement of operation. Actually, before this statement of operation, there is another components in the audited financial statements for the cooperative, which is the important thing, the opinion of the independent auditor. So, the independent auditor's opinion will display whatever his or her opinion on the financial statement. Remember that the opinion released by the auditor is based on a reasonable assurance that the financial statement presents fairly in all material respects. It does not give an absolute assurance, but a reasonable assurance that it is presented fairly. Now, another component is the management representation. It just merely represents or the management represents the correctness, accuracy, and the sufficient presentation of the financial statements by the management. The management representation is normally signed by the president, the chairman of the board, and the treasurer of the cooperative. There is also another representation that is signed by the auditor, but later we will see what kind of that we will search for a sample release audited financial statements in Google, and I will explain some components that are presented there. So let's move now. Another one is the statement of operation. So this is also known as the income statement. The statement of operation presents the income accounts of the cooperative as well as all the expenses accounts. So it also presents the net surplus of the cooperative or the net income for the period, for a certain period, say for 1 year for the cooperative. Another one component of the financial statement is the statement of financial condition. The statement of financial condition is or uh, the is a presentation of the assets of the cooperative, the liabilities, and the owner's equity or the share capital, and including its statutory accounts. So that is for the financial condition. The financial condition is also known as the balance sheet. Okay. So later we will also see a sample of the financial condition. Another one is a statement of cash flows. Statement of cash flow presents the operate presents three major presentation for a category of how the cooperative uh, finances is being used from the inflow and the outflow of the cash. Normally, an indirect statement of cash flow is being created, being presented with presentations of three major categories, which is the operating activity, the investing activity, and the financing activity. So those are representation of the statement of cash flows in the cooperative. Another one is the changes in owner's equity. The changes in owner's equity reflects how the capital account or the share capital of the cooperative is being recorded, or what what are the accounts, or what are the transactions that affect the changes of the owner's equity. So it will be presented in the audited statements of the cooperative. The last one is the notes to financial statements. The notes to financial statements includes all the narrative presentation of the cooperative, from its organization to its salient accounting policies and procedures, how it recognizes and following the minimum standard of disclosure in the notes to financial statements according to the Philippine Financial Reporting Standard for Cooperatives. So it will be presented in the notes to financial statements. So before I end this chapter, let us try to look at a sample audited financial statements in Google. That's it. So cooperative audited financial statements, cooperative. Okay, so we have here one. So let us open this one. There's another one here, but siguro we will open this audited statement. Providers multipurpose. Okay. But in 2015, so medyo old na lang siya. Let's run the new one. This one, because this is new. Okay. So let's move to see the first one, which is Kabuhayan sa Ganap na Kasarinlan Credit and Savings Cooperative, or Kasagana Ka or K-Co-op. It's located on 4th floor, KMBA, number Central Building, number 5, Techavenue, Quezon City. So this is a sample of audited financial statements released for the Kasagana Ka. Okay, amounts in Philippine pesos. This one is the statement of management responsibility for annual income tax return. The one here is the presentation of the Baog Car Beneficiaries Multipurpose Cooperative. So let's move down. Okay, so statement of management responsibility for financial statements. So management responsibility for the financial statements. Here we have first the management responsibility for income tax return. Another presentation is the management responsibility for financial statements. So din here pareho silang duha. The next one is the management responsibility for annual income tax. Dito sa kabila, nauna si management responsibility for annual income tax return. So that's here now is the independent auditor's report. So after that, we also have here another statement of representation of the external auditor to the Cooperative Development Authority. So before, but after that, statement required by Section 8A Revenue Regulation number 5-20, the General Assembly and Board of Directors. So, this is included in the release financial statements of Elma Ilagan. So, I don't know if it is included here with Johnny Cervantes But anyway, that is not our point. The point is the minimum required reporting for the cooperative. So here we have the independent auditor's report. Kasagana, the release financial statement is an unqualified, meaning the opinion of the auditor. The auditor gives reasonable assurance that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects. Now let's move to the statement of financial condition. So for the both of them, this is the statement of financial condition. In BAO 2019-2018, as I mentioned earlier, the financial condition presents the asset, the total asset, and the liabilities and members' equity. So that's for the other end. Here, presenting the asset, liabilities, and the equity of the cooperative. So another one component is the statement of operation. The statement of operation presents the revenue. Here, direct costs, financing costs, and cost of service, or other operation involved in the cooperative. So here we have financing costs because it is involved in the lending operation. So after that, the administrative costs reflects the net surplus, provision for income tax, or taxable operation of the cooperative. It is presented here that in 2019, they have a taxable income from non-exempted transaction of the cooperative. Here, the net surplus, the net deficit reported 20 million net deficit, but in 2019, it gained 33 million. So, we don't know what happened. Anyway, we are not going to analyze the financial statements per se, but I'd like you to take a grasp at what are the accounts that are included in the presentation of the audited financial statement. Another one, as I said earlier, is the statement of changes in equity. The statement of changes in equity presented, the share capital here, beginning, the receipts from collection and subscription, meaning the members of the cooperative paid for their subscription for the share capital or the common stock, and then also there is adjustment. Maybe these are the members who withdraw their membership to the co-op that eventually receive their share capital for the cooperative. So we have here the ending share capital. Included in the presentation of the changes in equity is the changes in the statutory fund. So for each statutory fund, it is presented and how the fund is presented from the what are added to the funds and what are being deducted. Example, the general reserve fund. Here we add the allocation from net surplus from the beginning of the year, less the allocation, less the adjustments. But for the net surplus, there are no adjustments. In the CETF, also the same from the allocation, the CDF, allocation from the net surplus, optional fund, still from the allocation of the optional fund. So these are the changes of the equity and eventually led to the equity ending balance. This amount, 44,816,528, reconcile the amount presented in the balance sheet total. 44,816,528. Okay, so we move now to the statement of cash flows. Statement of cash flows from operating activities, from the investing activities, and from the financing activities. So in here, it is shown all the cash transaction of the cooperative. Okay. So in here, the operating activities reflects the net surplus, and then remove the non-cash item, non-cash transaction, and deduct the activities in the asset accounts to arrive at the net operating uh, net operating cash flows. In the investing activities, we will present what are the acquisition of the property and equipments or the disposal. Dito makikita the payment of for investments and the payment for intangibles. Dito mga non-earning, non-current assets dito makikita sa investment. Another here is the cash flow from financing activities. So this one, activity on the liabilities of the cooperative, yung paano na i-finance yung operation ng cooperative. Okay, so that's it. We will arrive at the net increase or decrease in cash and cash equivalents. We add the beginning balance of cash in January and get the result of the ending balance. So if we are going to look at the 17,370 to 40, is equal to the balance sheet figure, which is the 17,370 to 40. 17,370 to 40. Okay. So that's it for the presentation of the statement of cash flow. The last one, we have the notes to financial statements. The notes to financial statement presents the general information of the cooperative. So normally the note number 1 discusses the name of the co-op, the address, the CDA authority, and other statutory government registration that are vital to the operation, and the legality of the operation of the cooperative. So normally it is discussed here in the general operation note 1. So and then another in the note 2, normally it is the one presented here is the summary of significant accounting policies of how are the financial statements figures arrived at, including those important accounting policies that were adopted and implemented in the presentation of the audited financial statements, and as well as the presentation and the recognition in the books of the cooperative. So if we continue to drop down, other normal presentation is starting from the cash or statement of condition, what are the what needs to be presented in the cash and equivalents, loans, and so until the capital, the income, and the expenses. So practically the notes to financial statements explains in a qualitative manner what are the significant items presented in the financial statements, so that a qualitative explanation will be given to and will be provided to the readers of the financial statements. So that's it for chapter 2. I hope you learned something, and next we will move to chapter 3.